All right, so today we are diving into a fascinating world, Islamic finance,
Okay.
and more specifically, how a story about what's considered haram or forbidden
Right.
in investments can teach us all a thing or two about ethical investing.
Yeah.
We've got some excerpts here from Formed, and the story centers around this teenager, Aisha,
That's right.
and it seems like she really opens everyone's eyes to the nuances of ethical investing.
She does.
So this isn't just about finance, it seems. This is about critical thinking and taking charge of your money
Yeah.
in a way that aligns with a certain set of values.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get into it. The story starts with Aisha in her Islamic Studies class learning about the concept of Maysir.
Right. Maysir essentially translates to gambling, which is forbidden in Islam.
Okay.
But what's interesting is how this principle applies to investing.
Okay, so it's more than just avoiding slot machines and poker games.
Right.
It's about understanding the underlying mechanisms of your investments.
Exactly.
How does Maysir play into that?
So Maysir is about gaining something easily, purely by chance, with no real economic activity behind it. And that definition can be applied to certain types of investments.
So how do you distinguish between, say, investing in a company and simply gambling on the market?
That's where Aisha's story gets really interesting. She starts to question if the stock market itself could be considered Maysir.
Wow.
It's a question a lot of people have, right?
Right.
Is there really a difference between investing and just rolling the dice?
Especially these days when we hear about things like algorithmic trading and high-frequency transactions.
Right.
It feels like it's all just numbers on a screen.
Yeah, and Aisha grapples with that too. In one scene, she's discussing this company that makes a product she uses every day. She understands their business. She sees the value they bring. But then she contrasts that with these more abstract investment opportunities that feel very far removed from any real-world impact.
That's a really good point. It's easy to lose sight of where your money's actually going and what's driving those potential returns.
Right.
So how do you draw that line? Where does calculated risk and Maysir begin?
That's a million-dollar question, and it's something Aisha really forces us to confront in her story.
Okay.
It's not always a clear-cut distinction,
Right.
but at its core, it's about understanding the difference between speculative bets and investments that support real economic activity.
It sounds like Aisha's story is really about financial literacy as much as it is about ethical investing.
Absolutely, because to make ethical decisions,
Right.
you need to be informed. You need to understand how things work, what the potential risks are,
Yeah.
and where your money is actually going.
And that's a lesson that applies whether you're approaching investing from a faith-based perspective or simply trying to be a more conscious investor.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of being a conscious investor, Aisha's story takes a really interesting turn when she stumbles upon this new investment shop in her neighborhood.
Oh, really?
This new shop, Lucky Star Investments. Sounds kind of shady.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical investment firm.
So tell me more about that. What kind of tactics are we talking about?
Think flashing screens, promises of instant wins, investment packages with names that sound like lottery tickets.
So they're really preying on people's desire for a quick buck, huh?
Exactly. And they use all the bells and whistles to distract from what's really going on.
And I'm guessing they're using a lot of jargon, too.
Oh, yeah, tons of it. Complex financial terms that make it sound like they've got some secret formula for beating the market.
Which is designed to intimidate and confuse people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially those who might not be as familiar with the ins and outs of investing.
So how does Aisha handle this? This sounds like a high-pressure situation, especially for a teenager.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Instead of getting intimidated, she remembers what she's learned about Maysir
Good for her.
and starts asking some really pointed questions.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, they try to sell her on this instant win package, right? Claiming their complex algorithms can predict market fluctuations with pinpoint accuracy.
I've heard that one before.
Right, it's like a magic trick.
Yeah, exactly.
But Aisha doesn't fall for it. She challenges them directly, pointing out that there's no real economic activity behind their promises, just like gambling.
Wow.
It's a really powerful moment because she's not just accepting what they're telling her.
Right.
She's using her knowledge and her voice to push back against something she knows isn't right.
She sounds incredibly brave and articulate, especially for someone her age.
She is.
I'm not sure I would have had the confidence to do that at 16.
It's inspiring, and what's even more remarkable is that her actions have a ripple effect.
Okay, how so?
Remember, she's not alone in the shop. There are other people there who are considering investing with Lucky Star.
Oh, right, I forgot about that. So what happens? Do they listen to her?
They do. They overhear her questions, her observations about Maysir, and they start to have second thoughts of their own.
Wow, so she's inspiring others to think critically, too.
Exactly. It's like her willingness to speak up gives them permission to do the same.
That's incredible. So Aisha's story is not only about individual ethical choices.
Right.
It's about how one person's actions can inspire others to think critically and hold these institutions accountable.
Exactly. And it highlights a crucial point about ethical investing.
What's that?
It's not just about what you do with your money.
Okay.
It's about advocating for transparency and responsibility within the entire financial system.
I love that. Now, you mentioned something about someone else walking in on this whole scene. Who was that again?
Oh, yeah. It's perfect timing.
Right.
It's Mr. Abdul Rahman from the Islamic Business Development Center.
Oh, wow. Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
What happens when he sees what's going on? So Mr. Abdul Rahman walks in on this whole scene at Lucky Star. What happens?
Well, he is not happy about it. He sees right through their tactics and realizes they're exploiting people's lack of knowledge about Islamic finance.
So he gets involved.
He does. He confronts them.
I bet they love that.
Oh, yeah, they were thrilled. But you know what's amazing, though?
What's that?
Mr. Abdul Rahman, he sees something special in Aisha.
Oh,
Her understanding of Maysir, but also her courage to stand up for what's right.
yeah, she was pretty amazing.
So guess what he does?
What?
He offers her an internship at the Islamic Business Development Center right then and there.
Wow, talk about being in the right place at the right time.
I know, right? It's like fate.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So she lands this internship. What happens next?
Well, she dives headfirst into the world of Islamic finance, learns everything she can.
Good for her.
And get this, she stumbles across a news article about a conventional bank
Okay.
launching a Sharia-compliant investment fund.
Oh, interesting. I've heard that term before, but
Yeah.
I'll admit I don't fully understand what it means.
Yeah, it can be a bit confusing. Basically, Sharia compliant means that a financial product or service adheres to Islamic principles.
Like avoiding Maysir.
Exactly. And also things like avoiding excessive interest or riba
Great.
and investing in businesses that are considered halal, meaning permissible.
So it's about aligning your investments with your values.
Precisely. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
Aisha starts digging into this Sharia-compliant fund, reading the fine print, looking at their investment strategy.
Doing her due diligence.
Exactly. And she uncovers something troubling.
Oh.
This fund that claims to be Sharia-compliant is heavily invested in complex financial derivatives.
Those can be pretty risky, right?
They can be. And remember, we talked about how Maysir is about avoiding excessive risk.
Right, so they're using the label, but they're not actually adhering to the principles.
Exactly. It's like putting a healthy label on a box of sugary cereal.
Wow, that's pretty misleading.
It is, and it shows why Aisha's story is so important.
It's a reminder to always look beyond the label.
Yes. Don't just take their word for it. Do your research, ask questions, make sure your investments align with your values.
It's about taking control of your own financial destiny.
Absolutely. And you know what else Aisha does?
What's that?
She teams up with Mr. Abdur Rahman, and they start a financial literacy program for young people.
That's amazing. So they're paying it forward.
Exactly. Teaching the next generation about Islamic finance, ethical investing.
Wow, what an inspiring story.
It really is. It shows that anyone can make a difference.
And that financial literacy is crucial for everyone.
Absolutely. No matter your background or beliefs.
Well said. This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
Thanks for breaking it all down for us.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk about ethical investing.
And for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners out there, keep learning, keep asking questions, and make your money matter.